Hey everyone. There's a variety of different places in the city that crimes can happen. It could be down an alleyway, at a quiet street, but I definitely wouldn't consider McDonald's a popular hotspot for a lot of crime to happen. But I guess it sort of is, because there are multiple stories where something, either horrible or funny, happens there, and the police actually come to solve it. And it's not like average mundane stuff, because it happens every day. I'm talking about the kind of stories where if there wasn't any camera footage, no one would believe it. And of course, if it happens at McDonald's, it's probably devoid of any reason or logic, where the smallest, dumbest action can just flip a switch in someone's head. I think the most embarrassing part is that in some of these stories, the criminal would be willing to end their life or hurt someone for something that just costs like $1. But either way, some of them are so brain dead that they fully deserve to be arrested.
McDonald's, an all-American establishment that brings joy, happiness, and obesity to many. While a lot of us look back upon the place fondly, they have been no stranger to crimes, lawsuits, and controversy over the years by any means.
I'm gonna predict now, the first one or one of many is gonna be the one where the guy shot up the place because his fries were decently cold. So, I wanna see that. I imagine there's gonna be a lot of fat people, because that would be like the mecca for fat people committing crimes there.
Look underneath the great golden arches to find out what's going on down there. While you might find a good roach or two while looking under the counters, looking under the roof itself is a good way to find a seemingly never-ending litany of crimes. But, you know, with how many McDonald's there are and how often they're frequented, it's only natural that there's going to be some crimes popping up at some point.
No, definitely, yeah. The funny thing is the reason that, or the instigation that happens, that causes it to happen. That is normally the funniest.
And get ready for the carnage. Something about McDonald's really seems to get people in the threatening mood, and it seems that a lot of people come packing heat to pick up their Happy Meals. Rather than simply generalize, let's start with a very specific example, that of a woman arrested in Cocoa, Florida after an unpleasant interaction with...
Of course it would be Florida. That should have been my first prediction, would be in Florida. Oh my god, those eyes.
Through and began to speak with an employee through the speaker. Quavi came to request...
Those eyes would just pierce through the entire staff there.
Actually, she was told that this order wouldn't be possible as they didn't even carry that item. Well, Quavi wasn't having it. She pulled up to the window where one would normally pay and started...
That's my funniest instigation, because even if they don't have the item, they imagine that if they just yell enough, they're gonna magically recreate the ingredients they have in the storage to make the item for them.
When the employee told her that it couldn't be done and asked her what her problem was, Quavi whipped out a handgun and began to threaten the young woman, telling her that she would, quote, push her shit back. Then she drove up to the second window where you would normally get your food and waited for her order that she wasn't going to receive. That order wasn't going to be coming. Instead, she got a visit from the police instead, who pulled up pretty quickly.
I like how she was still being like informative, just like driving onto the first window to get the food, you know, being patient.
Sitting in her passenger seat.
Oh
Employees at the McDonald's told police that this wasn't the first time that they had to call them about this woman. Although they
no
didn't provide
way.
details as to what
Twice?
she had done
Or 3
first
times?
round. Police officers arrested Quavi and took her into jail, booked on 3 charges.
Also those glasses,
Assault with a
god.
deadly weapon,
You can always tell like what kind of person someone is from, you know, the kind of fashion. But I would never guess that she would shoot up at McDonald's for like, I don't know, a McRib they don't have off season.
As you might have been able to gauge from this story, there's nothing Florida loves more than McDonald's and guns, and hell, it seems like cookies too.
Cookies?
Quavi wasn't the only woman in Florida.
Cookies just feel like the, I don't know, like you're at McDonald's and you want something sweet, but you can't be bothered to drive to another place or you just pick it up. I don't imagine it's the best quality you could find.
Arguing with employees. Apparently at the time, employees were required to ask you about their rewards program, and if they didn't, you were entitled to get a free cookie from them. Well, it appears that Amari was well aware of this rule and caught the employee in a gotcha moment. Not having been asked about the rewards program, she demanded her cookie. It seems that the employee wasn't allowed to give her one, which sent Amari into a blind rage. She quickly became irate, screaming at the employee, demanding...
It's one of those things where in both parties, it's just so embarrassing. I mean, the guy didn't know that she would be livid that she didn't get her cookie. But on her end as well, why would you be, you know, that mad over just one item? That's like maybe less than $1 to pay for.
Staff. She inserted a magazine into the gun.
One bullet would be more expensive than, you know, the cookie.
Manager backed out of the drive-through window and stepped back into the main restaurant looking for cover. Another employee was stuck in place, looking directly into the barrel of the gun, realistically facing the chance that he might lose his life over a free cookie. The rest of the employees locked up the restaurant.
See, if there was footage of this on screen, I wouldn't laugh because it is, a life or death situation. But just the entire setup for this story, just so... I don't know, it doesn't make any sense.
The arm at gunpoint, forcing him out of the building and hitting him multiple times, scratching him on his face and neck before he finally broke free. The police arrived on scene and quickly caught Amari. She admitted to owning a gun, but said that she never made any threats with it. She said that she was simply involved in her own words, a tussle.
This is why we need a vote to have all McDonald's employees have a body cam to record them and catch them.
Fully loaded and ready to go, she said that she didn't know. Police checked the surveillance footage from the drive-thru, and although the quality wasn't great, it did show her holding what appeared to be a gun in her right hand, inserting something into it, and holding it up to the drive-thru window. She's now facing...
I'm guessing she was like holding on the window, just acting like non-conspicuous to not make it seem obvious.
Unfortunately, not all of these cases ended with mere threats. Some of them had some weight to them. Out in Brooklyn, a disagreement between a McDonald's patron, 20-year-old Michael Morgan, and an employee, 23-year-old Matthew Webb, broke out into a brawl.
I think it might be this guy, I've not seen his face.
Gotten some cold fries with her order, and Michael was there to stick up for her.
What is that stock footage? There's some director get lunch from McDonald's and he was like, how can I kill 2 birds with 1 stone and send my footage to McDonald's? I know, I'll just get lunch there and send that as my footage. It would be 10 times better to just put the ketchup in the fries already and not put them aside on a coffee lid, nonetheless.
Began to laugh. Michael, upon hearing this, was furious and made his way out to the restaurant. The argument ended up spilling out onto the sidewalk, where Michael began to punch Matthew and beat him. After not too long, he pulled out his gun and shot Matthew in the neck. Police arrived, arresting Michael there on the spot.
That's like a decent place to get shot, but that's still horrifying because the odds of bleeding out so high. I mean, not low.
Several days, he passed away. It was then assumed that Michael would definitely be facing charges of murder. Oddly enough, Michael's mother, the woman who got the cold fries, wasn't at all appalled by what he had done. She reportedly told the police, he gotta do what he gotta do. It seems that Michael had gotten the gun from his neighbor.
I wish there was like an MP3 of that, of her saying that. But I like this guy's voice just saying that, like nonchalant. He's gotta do what he's gotta do.
For Matthew, who was apparently a stand-up citizen that a lot of people knew fondly. He was a polite young guy working 2 jobs to put himself through college while volunteering as a church organist whenever he could.
Oh, this poor
Surprisingly though, this story wasn't over. This investigation led to yet another revelation. It wasn't a big shocker that this wasn't Michael's first run-in with the police. In fact, he had a good 13 prior arrests on his record, with charges including grand larceny, assault, and theft.
Isn't the max like 10 before they just arrest you and put you in jail? Not 13.
He would go on to confess to another murder after his arrest. This was the 2020 murder of 28-year-old Kevin Holloman. Michael said that he had shot Kevin by mistake, being after his cousin when he shot him instead. That case coincidentally only occurred just a few blocks away from the McDonald's in this incident.
Also, it was more of the, I guess, energy brought on by the McDonald's. See, the death of that guy is so sad. That's just another story that reaffirms that anything can happen in life and there's no like grand story or grand fate for everyone. Like, what are you saying about like him going to college and working 2 jobs? You have like a good amount of money. That's gonna sound like an old man would like tell to his grandkids. But if he died right there at McDonald's for like some cold fries, then I was just purely out of control and just, like sheer luck that I had. Not luck, but in a bad way, I guess. Well, the only way you can prevent that is just like by never going outside and talking to anyone. Because how else can you prepare for that if like that tiny situation of you laughing at someone for like cold fries just blows up to you getting shot in the neck? Like legit, you have to just like never talk to anyone or never go to McDonald's, I guess.
While some people out there will get incredibly rabid over some cold fries, some people will lose their cool over something as simple as the sauce. In fact, out in Washington, D.C., we have the case of a 16-year-old girl who threw her life away, as well as the life of another, over some sweet and sour sauce.
God.
Out at this Washington, D.C. McDonald's, a 16-year-old who hasn't been named due to her age got into a fight with her friend over said sauce. She, the victim, and one other girl exited a car and went into the restaurant where a fist fight broke out. The victim...
That was a fist fight. I was expecting her to have a gun, because that's the quickest way I can imagine them, dying during a fight.
Well, the attacker didn't take too kindly to this. She took out a knife and stabbed Naima multiple times in her stomach and heart for daring to intervene. Naima was rushed to the hospital, but eventually she lost the fight and was pronounced dead. The police arrived and subdued the attacker, taking her in. She fully admitted to killing the girl in a fight over condiments. The case eventually went to trial, where her lawyer attempted to argue that she had stabbed her friend in self-defense, but the evidence clearly showed otherwise.
It's one of those things where, like, you're a lawyer and you have to pay the bills, and that was the only case you could take in.
Very hard to make sense of. Naima's mother was also confused, in disbelief that her daughter was killed by someone she had known since elementary school over something so stupid, saying, I still don't understand how someone who called herself a friend could do something so heinous.
I saw, like, the kid in the hoodie was, like, a bystander, and being like, oh, what are you trying to do? And then just get stabbed.
She was sentenced to 5 years in juvenile detention for what she did, which
was one of those things where, like, if you're a parent and the police came knocking to your door and told you, like, your child died for sweet and sour sauce at McDonald's, like the one nearby around the corner, I would just give up all hope on humanity just for, like, someone dying over that.
Her father,
go back. We said about rehabilitated. If I was a kid, I would just beg the judge, just give, like, the death sentence, even though 16 is probably, way too young for that. Still, though, if you're 60 and you kill someone over that, there's a very small chance of you getting better when you're a grown-ass person.
Luckily, though, not all of these cases end in death. It might not be much consolation, but some of them only end with a mere beating.
Still don't.
In Milwaukee, a 19-year-old woman...
That's how, like, low the standards are, where, like, him being like, okay, some people got beat up, that seems a good thing compared to, like, other people getting stabbed and shot.
After handing the bag with the wrong order to the customer, the employee at the drive-thru turned around to walk away, only to feel the bag of food hit her in the back of the head. What the f*** is this? I didn't order no sausage biscuit, screamed Debreka. She pulled her
Doesn't mean that would be etched on the base of a statue.
Employee there that their order wasn't right. The manager then apologized and offered her.
Also, I want to take that off my bingo card. First fat person in the story.
Again, for some reason, this time coming behind the counter.
That was also, I want to say now, this small gate that divides, like, the restaurant from the kitchen, that's no man's land. When you cross that, like, any fight would break out over that.
Well, Debreka wasn't having it. She grabbed the girl and threw her into the fry station, cracking her head on the machine and then on the floor. Then Debreka fled the restaurant. The employee was taken to the hospital, feeling dizzy and nauseated, and treated for a concussion. With the CCTV footage, it wasn't long before Debreka was caught. The police arrested her and...
she just walked out? She punched her and just walked out.
Misdemeanors.
She has a weird baby face with a pucked up nose.
And was released on probation. She's no longer allowed to go to McDonald's as a condition of her release.
What do you mean I can't?
According to LinkedIn.
She definitely, if she is a caregiver, whatever it says there, she would definitely be one of those people that, like, robs the old people when they die.
Serious business. A 12-year-old girl in Harlem was eating some McDonald's, chicken nuggets to be precise, when one of her classmates, a boy her age, noticed her eating and came over to bum a nugget off of her. She told him no, which
she should have put out a Glock and shot him.
One more time, to which she responded again, no. Well, the boy wasn't about to let this slide. He started stalking her, and when she finally left the restaurant, he decided to follow her out. He followed her to the 103rd Street, number 6 train subway station. When it looked like she was alone, he approached her, pulled out a gun, and again demanded she provide a nugget. She refused.
Wait, hold on. Wait, I could have sworn he just said a kid, but if he stalked her through, like, in the entire town and followed at your train station, he has to be a grown-ass man. Unless he was just a kid that stole, like, his dad's gun when he was off duty.
She then simply boarded the train and left. The boy got on the train as well, where she saw him showing the gun to another kid. The next day, she told school officials who, in turn, told the police.
So it was a kid, and this is a grown-ass man, student in the school.
They didn't find the weapon, but the case was sent over to the family court in the end for them to pursue action.
That is so bizarre. That's one of those stories that has no like camera footage, and you just have to trust what the kid says. I mean, if the kid just put out a gun from nowhere, I wouldn't, like naturally in that situation, I would be tilted to defend the girl more. Especially if the only provocation was that she didn't give him a nugget, and that was enough to stalk him. Like that even if he doesn't get arrested, that has to be like a mental check for him, for like have some therapist see if he's okay in the head. Like a lot of kids, especially boys, they do a lot of like messed up stuff, you know, like hurt animals, but having that story of like, oh yeah, I stalked a girl for the entire town because she didn't give me a nugget, so I shot her with my gun. Like, I could definitely believe that would happen 3 more times in your life when you're a grown-ass man. Like, that's definitely not the kind of crime that just stops there when you're a kid. It definitely carries on for the rest of your life, you know.
Nuggets, some people would like to go even farther. Some would prefer a nuclear option. One man out in Iowa, Robert Goldwitzer Jr., went through a McDonald's drive-thru and decided to order some good old nuggies for himself. When he got home, he realized that the employees had forgotten to include his dipping sauce. He was irate. He called up the McDonald's and flew into a rage and began demeaning the employee on the phone. He then threatened to not only punch that employee in the face, but to...
I like to imagine like some 16-year-old that has no idea. Like that was his first day. Like, oh, I don't know. I'm sorry, sir.
His caller ID and called the police. They arrested him out at his home, and he admitted fully that, yes, he had threatened to punch a man and blow up a restaurant over some dipping sauce.
And the police were like, oh yeah, fair enough, yeah, that's fair.
One count of making a false report of an explosive or incendiary device, a Class D felony. He was thrown into jail, but he soon posted a $5,000 bond and was released. Robert waived his right to an...
For a lot of people, that would be like crossing the line, and that would like, he would just like go out and shoot the McDonald's. I mean, he already lost $5,000 for it, for the bond. There would be nothing stopping him from just doing it.
Food, though. Sometimes it's the drinks. I mean, have you ever wondered what would happen if you bought a cup of water and then filled it up with a soda anyway? Well, you might find the answer to that in this case.
Please tell me this is a story where like the employee shot the customer for lying about the water cup.
Along with 2 other unnamed young men, went through the drive-thru and ordered nothing but 3 ice waters with their food. They had a little scheme in mind. They would get that water for cheap in the drive-thru, then come into the store and get soda as a free refill. What could go wrong, they thought. Well, the answer to that is a lot. The manager came out and confronted the 3 men, demanding that they return the sodas they had unjustly filled.
Return this, puke it out.
Just that, but Cody did not. Cody ran back out to his car with the soda, not willing to give it up. The manager followed him out, attempting to take the keys out of the ignition and failing.
No, most managers would not care.
Incredibly dedicated to not losing this $1 drink for something.
I'm guessing it's that American pride as a manager to protect your business.
He was struck. The police were called, and they soon found Cody parked at a nearby bowling alley, enjoying his drink. They charged him with felony robbery and threw him into the Washington County Detention Center.
For life. It's pretty funny. It's funny how like the manager and the police were both like perfectly synced to be really pissed off about this tiny crime.
So how about we look into a case that's almost the exact opposite, where someone does get a Coke and they are very unhappy with it. Well, let's just say that the man and his family in this case definitely have a pretty good reason to be unhappy about it.
It would be fair to have at least one story where it is the restaurant's fault, and someone deserves to be shot, you know?
His wife and kids, ordering 2 Happy Meals, 2 chicken sandwiches, and 2 Diet Cokes. Once they got home, Trevor sat down and began drinking his Coke while watching his kids. This was when he started feeling very strange. First, he lost control of his fingers. Then he started to panic as he lost feeling in his arms and legs and started to dissociate.
Oh my god.
He said, "As I started to shift my body, I started to sense almost like..."
What could like accidentally leak into like the syrup for the drink to make you that, like a vegetable?
When that feeling started, he texted his wife, "Something is very wrong with me. I am having sensations in my arms and everything is moving slowly. I'm feeling scared. I don't know what to do."
Oh, what a lie. He lost control of his fingers, but he still texted that? Really?
He collapsed into a nearby table before falling to the floor. His wife quickly came back home and took him to the hospital. While waiting at the hospital, she compared her Diet Coke to his, noticing that his drink had some little speckles and some kind of film across the top, something neither of them had noticed due to the lid. Trevor's wife called the police and reported the drink. I
genuinely have no idea what it could be to cause that.
It had been spiked with a heroin substitute called Suboxone.
Definitely not heroin. That wasn't on my checklist.
It is indeed a film-like substance that dissolves in your mouth. To make things worse, it seems that it had a negative interaction with some of Trevor's prescribed medication, which is what put him into this condition. Luckily, Trevor recovered.
That's definitely like some teenager that was like, it was the last day and he does not care about his life or going to prison at all.
It's still ongoing, but it's unclear as to whether or not it will actually go anywhere, with McDonald's saying that they have no control over the day-to-day actions of each of their employees.
Yeah, but
in response, it's being argued that they should have been providing adequate supervision and training. McDonald's has since said that this is optional. We'll just have to see where this goes.
Legitimately, I've seen so many dumb cases of people like suing a restaurant who's like, oh, I slipped on your floor, there was no yellow sign, even though they intentionally did it, you can make some money out of it. But as a judge, that would be the best way to at least agree in the middle and be like, okay, if McDonald's pays you like X amount of money, like $1 million, we'll drop the lawsuit. That seems decent. There's no way it's still going on today, as if it's that, gray.
While some people do sue McDonald's over matters that one might find reasonable, there are plenty of other people out there who are trying to get money out of the massive corporation for things that you might call a little frivolous. One good example is this case in which a married couple attempted to sue McDonald's for $5 million over getting some cheese that they didn't order.
See, I just talked about that, yeah. That's so dumb, like, it shouldn't even have a lawyer back it up.
McDonald's is unjustly ripping off their customers by providing cheese by default with a small upcharge. So these two deserve $5 million for it.
God.
They said,
I hate these lawsuits. Are like, you made the decision, you made me pay extra without even asking me. It's like one extra P, like no actual difference either way.
By these practices because it receives payment for cheese it does not deliver to its customers. McDonald's themselves put out a statement.
But that theory, you should be pissed off that they gave you lettuce, onion, and sauce in the burger as well. Why stop at the cheese,
We try to accommodate our customers' requests by allowing them to customize their orders, such as a quarter pounder with no cheese. They also stated that the menus have clearly laid out set prices. Well, after months of battling, the judge threw out the lawsuit with prejudice, meaning they can't file another lawsuit on this topic again.
Good. I'm so glad that that sort of didn't last longer. I'm glad it just ended there. That's good.
Trickery. Well, not all of the McDonald's related crimes out there involve hatred. Some involve love, like self-love. A good example would be the case of a 61-year-old man in New York who went to
in these documentaries, they try to keep it serious by not trying to snake around the specific word,
to the restaurant and pulled out his tablet, turning on some good old pornography and having a nice leisurely watch. Police were called on the man, Todd McMillan of Bay Shore, New York, after employees complained that this wasn't the first time he'd been caught blasting porn in their store and kicked out. It appears that McDonald's was his usual viewing grounds. Todd was arrested and charged with...
Something about the air would make you, naturally horny.
While Todd was out there playing with his own nuggies, some were playing with the nugs of others. In fact, out in Connecticut, one young couple in their 20s was arrested for doing just that very thing.
Well, was some girlfriend, she's beautiful. The girlfriend was jacking off the guy on the left.
He's getting it on in their car and
he has the disappointed jack-off session face, where he did not enjoy the hand job at all.
Back seat, completely awake and aware of what was going on. When employees saw that the child was not only there but also watching, they called the police immediately.
Oh, God.
The police rushed out and found a partially naked woman in the front seat, seemingly grinding upon a man. Police were shocked to see the young kid alert and...
It's always in a car where you can very clearly see it, the huge Titanic motion. Not calling it fat, just saying.
At a McDonald's. It goes without saying that the police didn't buy this explanation. Both of them were charged with second-degree breach of peace and impairing the morals of a minor. Online, at least, it isn't clear what happened to the child afterwards. Both of the adults were thrown into jail and later released on a $5,000 bond.
Fair enough, not bad.
Now, it's admittedly not my intention to get you to hate McDonald's, but if the sight of people jacking it and getting it on right there on the premises doesn't prevent you from going, maybe something like this will.
Well, to be honest, I kind of want a Big Mac now, yeah.
Australia, a man named Anton Valley was digging into his lovely McDonald's burger one night at about 2 in the morning after having a good few drinks.
2 in the
Being
morning,
dark out and having a pretty good buzz, he didn't really get a clear look at his quarter pounder. If he did, he might have noticed that the thing was pretty raw. He got about 3 good bites in before he noticed that the burger tasted a little funny. He pulled out his phone and used the flashlight to see 2 patties that seemed like they hadn't even been cooked. Maybe partially, but the meat was clearly still raw.
My god, that's disgusting. I'm just gonna say now, quickly, there's nothing more disgusting to me than, like, raw meat. I don't know, something about it. Like, comparatively, I guess you can eat, I think raw beef is, like, somewhat the healthiest kind of meat you can have compared to chicken that would just give you salmonella instantly. But I just think it's a texture that just puts me off so much. I would much rather like find like a fried rat in a burger than raw meat, even though it's probably like the most dangerous option between the two that would just take me to a hospital immediately compared to the raw beef. But it's one of those things where like your disgust for it is so strong that it can like trick your mind and body that you feel more sick.
He began to projectile vomit all over the place. He started sweating profusely and shaking all over. He called into the store to tell them what had happened, complaining that they sold him a raw burger. They asked him to hold on to the burger until he felt up to bringing it back. He did as they said and was offered both a refund and a replacement. Needless to say, he wasn't in the mood for a replacement burger.
For having his stomach almost like need to be taken out by a doctor, I feel like he deserves more.
One person getting sick from McDonald's? Try hundreds. About 400 in this case.
What? You're telling me these restaurants are open quickly and don't have like that huge quality control? Sometimes f up the burger? What?
Illinois in 2018, there was a huge breakout of cases of explosive diarrhea that were all traced back to McDonald's salads. Now in Illinois, there were
I don't have a salmonella from the lettuce. Oh wait, no, not salmonella, epox, whatever it's called. Something to do with this, the lettuce.
Victim count reaching about 400 people over a short period of time. It appears that Illinois and Iowa McDonald's were the greasy ground zero, but the infection quickly spread within days. McDonald's took notice and switched out their salad for another blend shortly after. 3 months into the booming bud blasting, McDonald's still didn't know exactly what was going on with their salad that was causing the ailment. It was pretty hard to tell as the infections had been linked to all of the salads they had on their menu, not just one that they could isolate and throw out. All of the victims had contracted what is called cycloporiasis, which is caused by the cyclospora parasite. It's something that will, without a doubt, cause both vomiting and hellish explosive diarrhea for about a week, or even as long as a month once you contract it.
That's so funny, because there's at least one fat person that was like, I'm gonna be healthy today, and they rush home and just like blast out shit on the toilet.
Anytime soon, and hell, after this video, I have to wonder if you might be turned off a little bit as well. I honestly don't have anything against McDonald's in particular, but it's just weird how many McDonald's-related crimes I seem to come across accidentally while researching other cases. There are tons of them out there. Like I said before, these are really only a drop in the bucket, so if you have any more that you know of, feel free to put them in the comments, and I might make a sequel to this video at some point. Special thanks to a website called Law and Crime, which compiled a list that gave me a pretty good jumping off point for this research. Now, let's go get some burgers and call it a day.
Fair enough. Good video. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. When you're like as a huge empire at McDonald's, it's only natural you'd have a couple of stories where something bad happens. I mean, it's not like when you set up a shop that immediately has like an area of, you know, of pure peace and harmony. Like, apart, if there wasn't people fighting at McDonald's, like shooting or pulling out knives, there would be parts where like where the employees mess up an order, just like not simply, but it's like they don't cook the beef properly, which went on story with a guy like ordered burger at 2 a.m, which I'm not that surprised because during a night shift, I can definitely imagine like some guy manning the grill just cooking the beef, and he's so tired from like a double shift he had like the night before that he's so passed out, he just puts the meat on without like feeling in his hands just how raw it is. It's probably, I want to know exactly if it was like raw in the center or just fully raw, because if it was fully raw, I imagine the guy just didn't like cook it at all. But I think it was more possible that it was cooked, but like the grill wasn't like set on properly, so it looked, you know, good on the outside, but it just on the center, just like ice cold, 100%. Of course, I'm not blaming the guy for getting fast food and just having a decent level of trust in the restaurant, but I don't really expect, you know, like gourmet level chefs working at the McDonald's, you know. I'm like that mom in the first story of the guy getting shot in the neck, where like I'm not appalled, I'm expecting it, you know. A man's gotta do what he has to do, you know, just for McDonald's.